At the start of 2021, we laid out a plan for how we wanted to evolve Final Fantasy Union. We talked about how we'd hired a video editor to help Lauren and I not only elevate the quality of our content, but to ensure it released on a consistent basis. We also spoke about our lofty ambitions for what we could do if the channel received more funding on Patreon, and we introduced some new rewards for those who chose to do so, like this awesome poster that we commissioned from Colin Tan, aka Unartifacts. Central to this update was a new objective that we'd set ourselves, the production of long-form documentary-style videos. This was an important goal for us, and as such, we linked it to a specific funding milestone. Thanks to all of your support, that milestone was smashed, and in February, we announced that we would be producing a video about the complete history of Square that will be approximately 45 to 60 minutes in length. The original aim was to have that documentary released before the end of March, and we worked so hard to try and hit that deadline. But not everything went to plan, and instead of keeping you in the dark, we wanted to give you a transparent update on where the project is at, while also talking about some more general things that have happened over the past few months. As many of you know, our main objective with Final Fantasy Union is to always try and go that extra mile. We want to celebrate the Final Fantasy franchise by producing videos on topics that often don't get explored, and we want to do so in a manner that toes the line of being just a bit too granular.
That, as they say, is that.
It's why we were so excited about producing a documentary, as thanks to everyone's support on Patreon, we will be able to focus on creating our longest video to date without having to worry so much about pumping out content just to please the beloved algorithm. After much deliberation, we felt taking a deeper look into the history of Square would be perfect for this, as it not only touches on Final Fantasy, but also many of the other games produced and developed by Square that hold a special place in our hearts. Even though this has been explored many times before, and should you so wish, you can gain a brief understanding of the company's history from Wikipedia, we felt that many of these already existing pieces of content were quite abridged. Our objective was therefore to add something to the conversation by doing what we do best, delving way deeper than anyone else and turning the history of Square into a fun, compelling and thought-provoking story so that everyone could see the clear steps the various creative minds we've become very familiar with took to take Square from being a tiny independent video games company to one of the biggest publishers in the world. In terms of scope, the video was called The Complete History of Square on purpose, as we wanted to cover everything up until the merger in 2003, and to do this, the video was going to be split into 3 clear segments. The first segment would focus on the formation of Square, the next segment would then focus on the rise of Square after the release of Final Fantasy, and the final segment would take a deeper look into the actions that Square took that ultimately led to their downfall and eventual merger with Enix. When we started the project, it seemed like a solid and sensible structure, but if there's one thing we've learned over the past few years, it's that you always want us to delve deeper. And perhaps due to our inexperience with this kind of thing, as we started to make real progress on the script, it became clear that there just wouldn't be enough time to explore the topic in the way that we wanted within that 45 to 60 minute time frame, while also delivering something that we would actually be proud of. And that was a humbling realization. We'd been so excited about this project from the start, and we wanted to share it with you as soon as possible. With other videos, we would have probably made compromises in terms of how we chose to deliver the video so that we could just get something out in a timely manner. But we want this to be special, and we want you to feel the same excitement that we felt when producing it in its purest form. For that reason, we've taken the decision to postpone the release of the documentary and double down on the scope. Not only will this enable us to create something so comprehensive it'll be unlike anything ever seen before, but it will also help us to deliver for all the people on Patreon who have been kind enough to support us. You have given us security and the confidence to make this decision to not only postpone it, but to increase the scope so that it may become a multi-part video series, tackling each aspect of Square's history in very granular detail. And in that regard, Lauren and I just want to stress how thankful we are that so many people have chosen to support us on Patreon and are continuing to do so. Over the coming weeks and months, we will be providing Patreon supporters with more exclusive updates about how this ever-expanding project is progressing, and we have just published the first part of this, where we've provided a clear outline for what the road ahead looks like. As we're on the subject of Patreon, that brings us onto another big update. The common trend is that when it comes to creating videos, our eyes are often bigger than our stomachs. During the update in January, we allowed anyone who was a Patreon supporter to suggest videos for us to cover, and we then narrowed that list down to a smaller selection that was voted upon. The winning video was the Complete Timeline of Ivalice, and we were so excited to see that particular video win, as it's an incredibly cool concept. But it's also not a small concept. Ivalice spans 6 games, and although we probably could condense the subject down to a 20-minute video, Lauren and I felt like it would be a bit of a cop-out. So at the moment, we're assessing just how we want to try and deliver this so that it's something you will all really enjoy. We are aiming to share plans in the future about how that particular video will be delivered, but in the interim, we're going to commit to working on the Patreon-suggested video that came second, Genova's Origins, so expect that to be delivered at some point during May. Outside of that, we have plenty of other irons in the fire. We're hoping to be able to produce some fun and exciting content relating to Nier in the coming weeks, as many of you know how much that game means to both Lauren and I, and we've also just relaunched our Kingdom Hearts channel and have already amassed over 5,000 subscribers. It means we've got a busy few months ahead of us, but one thing's for sure, we're still going to be working incredibly hard to hit the goals we outlined at the start of the year so that we can continue to keep growing. We also want to keep delivering for all of you who have believed in us so far and have kept pushing us to do better. And in that regard, one of the ways we can continue improving is through your support on Patreon. Not only does this give us the security to take more risks, but it also allows us to pull on more resources to help with the production of bigger and grander videos. So if you believe in what we do and want to keep seeing more, please visit patreon.com/ffunion and pledge as much or as little as you can. Patreon supporters can get access to a host of cool perks, from the exclusive updates I mentioned about what we're working on through to an exclusive podcast and a brand new Final Fantasy Union poster. If you help us to grow, we promise we will keep on evolving what we do and are confident you won't have to wait too long to see what that means in real terms with the content we produce. And when our first documentary does release, we hope you'll be really happy with it.